Hello, everyone. Hi from Los Angeles. My name is Rochelle Meese, and I'm going to be leading the third session today of the Volunteer Leadership and Philanthropy Learning Track. I am the oldest of four, and one of my sisters, Lauren, has cystic fibrosis. So that's how I became involved with the foundation. And I've been able to see how all of your hard work and the foundation's hard work has changed everything for my sister. And I was able to see her accomplish her dream of becoming a doctor a few years ago. So it's been incredible to be involved with everyone. So me personally, I love advocating for combining things you already enjoy and your passions with fundraising and philanthropy. So that's why I created the Get Salty comedy show along with a lot of amazing people out here in Los Angeles. Maybe you tuned in. We did it virtually for 2 years and I think we raised almost $100,000. It's been so fun. Also, people love going to it. So it combines fundraising and something that people really enjoy. I was co-chair for Tomorrow's Leaders for 2 years here in Los Angeles, and I'm also National Tomorrow's Leadership Council member. Enough about me though. Let's talk about our speakers today. So the session is called Making the Ask, How to Engage Your Network. So important. So if you've tuned into our other two sessions, then you've learned about corporate engagement and the importance of corporate giving. So during today's session, we're going to feature 3 speakers who will help us turn this knowledge into action. And we hope that through this session, you're going to get tools and resources to successfully share your story, engage your network, and fundraise. I mean, the 3 most important things. So please join me in welcoming our 3 presenters, Nick D'Angelo, Sam Curcio, and Liz Thompson. Woo! Hi, guys.
Oh.
Okay, a few housekeeping things. Our speakers are going to share their knowledge and experiences, and after that, we are going to do a Q&A. And instead of typing it into the chat here, there is a Q&A button at the bottom. So type your question into there and we'll make sure that we see it. And you can chat with everybody who's tuned in through the chat feature. Just make sure it says to everyone and not just to a specific person or just to the host. Okay, first off, we have Nick D'Angelo, my friend here in Los Angeles. He's a very impressive guy, a senior director of development and production at Audible Studios, where he creates original scripted and unscripted audio content and works with A-list talent from film, TV, sports, and music. Okay, his resume is long and impressive, but I think it's worth calling out that he was an independent producer, launched his own company, Lighthouse Point, has produced a film starring Robert De Niro and John Malkovich. He sold content to Netflix, was EVP at Crystal Pictures, and a studio exec at Fox for over a decade. I mean, he looks so young. How has he done it all? He's a native Floridian, mentors with the American Corporate Partners in Stoked, and is a board member at the LA chapter of the CF Foundation. And I personally have seen how Nick engages his network. He always has a huge group of very enthusiastic people who have a great time at the events. And that's what I love is he's able to give people something that they need, and they're able to also help the foundation. So it's a real win-win. Welcome, Nick.
Thank you, Rochelle. And that was an amazing jumping off point for a segue to say that. Also, I'm going to throw it back to Rochelle to say she's been, a part of the organization even longer than I have. She mentioned, she created Get Salty, and I've seen so much of what she's done and tried to kind of not mimic, but, kind of borrow from her playbook. And I actually still to this day use Get Salty as the example of how do we present something to potential donors or advocates that they're going to feel excited about. Like we're not just asking for money. We're saying, hey, pay X amount of dollars, you're going to get an amazing comedy show with big time stars. And that's kind of how I look at fundraising in general. But so to go a step backwards, again, my name is Nick D'Angelo. I'm also based in Los Angeles. Rochelle kind of went through my, my job descriptions and, kind of career path, but I've been in the entertainment industry for over 20 years. And as she also mentioned, I did start my own company for a few years before I went to Audible. And it was interesting, during that time, I realized that I was approaching being an independent producer in a very similar way, in that I approached fundraising and advocacy, which is, I'm a small fish in Los Angeles. What do I have to offer a big time agent or a studio executive or a financier or, whatever big wig, big fish type person there is? And what I found worked the best is when you are offering something, or you're asking for something at the same time you're offering something. And so, and it's something that I certainly used quite a bit, even in the early days as, an advocate and proponent of, for the CF Foundation and to fight the battle against CF. On that note, my journey with CF started in October of 2015 when my nephew George was born, and about 2 weeks later, we discovered that he had cystic fibrosis. So that I remember exactly where I was. I was driving to a lunch meeting, and I was really kind of panicked. I was nervous for my sister. I was nervous for George, and I felt very uneducated, which is a scary place to be in. So I always joke that myself and my entire family became, not experts maybe, but as close as one can, who's not a doctor, to being experts at all things cystic fibrosis related. And with that knowledge came comfort. And I would say, hands down, I'm not even, complimenting the organization who's organizing this, but the CF Foundation was what I refer to as, like, that was the lighthouse. That was the thing that we could turn to. We knew where it was, and they were a guiding light and a path for us to follow, in the hopes that we will, as the slogan says, one day make CF stand for Cure Found. And we got very active very quickly. And the Great Strides event was something that my family, who is scattered kind of all over the country, and certainly, extended family, friends of family, we had the walk in Santa Monica, which my sister Kate and I, not the sister with who's the mother of George, different sister, both based in LA. My sister Elissa, who is the mother of George, was based in Tampa. My parents based in Fort Lauderdale. We had people in Houston. We had people all over the Northeast. We had people in Northern California. And these were all Super George teams, which is the name of our team. And for the first, I think it was the May or June of 2016 was the first strides that I was able to attend. And we had a major kind of presence. We had a lot of people. We had our Super George custom t-shirts. We had tents set up. We had food. We had coffee. We had everything to kind of make this feel like it was something that someone could show up on a Saturday, give up their Saturday morning for, and hopefully have some fun. And that was the first kind of experience of asking something of specifically friends, and maybe even friends of friends, where you're asking, what are you asking for? You're asking for donations. You're asking for their time. And what my sister and I, Kate and my sister in LA tried to do was make it fun. How are we going to make this fun? And it continues to go in that direction, independent of what we do. But the CF Foundation has made every walk since I've been to one in 2016, be more fun, more thing. We have DJs. There's somebody on stage. Kind of. I feel like there was like either live music or something one time. There's vendors. There's giveaways. There's free food and things like that. And people ultimately have fun. It's just, and ours is at the beach, so it's not terrible. And that was my entry point. And I think as Chris Mendoza, who's the executive director of the LA chapter, saw our Super George team in Santa Monica, we became closer. We got to know each other. And shortly after that, maybe after a year or two, Chris asked me to join the advisory board, which I was honored to do and really happily did. At that time, I was the fundraising chair. I've recently been asked to be vice president below one of my friends and fellow board members, Nick Lewerk, who is the president. And that's been, it's in early days. So it'll be fun to see what we can do in the coming years. I want to go a step backwards too here, just to kind of give a couple of bullet points of things that I, as admittedly a non-expert, like the things I will tell you today, I'm not a fundraising expert. I have not, I don't come from that world. But these are things that I kind of learned myself and told myself, and they've been really helpful. So I already kind of mentioned it, but it's easier to ask for money or for someone's participation when you're offering something in return. Hence, something like Get Salty, an amazing comedy show. You buy a ticket and you get to experience this, and it's going towards a great cause. The other thing I wanted to add was there's a former very high level member of the foundation based in Bethesda who years ago, maybe my first or second year, told me that advocacy is just as important as fundraising. So even if someone doesn't offer you, the kitchen sink as far as fundraising or donation, just making them aware of cystic fibrosis and what we're trying to do, what the foundation is trying to do, is just as important, because it educates a new person, and with that education may come donations in the future. The next thing was that it doesn't have to be scary to ask. Worst case scenario, they politely tell you no, and you will continue going. You'll continue, moving forward. But again, it's just putting yourself out there, and again, when possible, offering something in return. So on that note, I will move on to the kind of that idea of offering something in return. As a big time football fan, I was going to Rams games when they were at the Coliseum before they were in the new stadium, and kind of got lucky and but met one of the special ticketing executives there who did group ticketing. And I started talking to them about the opportunity to host a CF event at a game, which they were very excited about. And that was something where the value that we were offering to the Rams was, I would say, equal to the value they were offering us. They were allowing us to have our own private section with, catering and in the shade. They made custom t-shirts for us. That was a partnership between the Rams and the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. In return, we were buying tickets. We were filling a section. We were, putting ourselves, they put us on the Jumbotron, and it is a philanthropic endeavor of theirs that makes them, it shows that they're the type of organization that means as much as they do. And that was a great experience. Rochelle, again, I'll throw her, the credit here. She met someone with the King's organization. And through that, we were able to organize another event where, again, we got block seating. We had all our group together. We got a young girl with cystic fibrosis out on the ice with the players. We got about 20 people in the tunnel. And what this was, it's, a small ask, $50 for a ticket, $60 for a ticket. We're not just taking your money and running with it. You're going to get a seat at the game. You're going to get, a fun experience with your friends. And those are the types of things that, for me, I never feel scared asking people to join that, because people so far, especially in my friend group and outside of it, have been very excited about it. They ask me very often about, what's the next event. Luckily, I'll knock on wood as I say it, it seems like we are getting to a place where COVID isn't gone, but it's a little more in the rear view every day. And we're hoping to be able to kind of kickstart these types of events again. Like, I want to get in that new stadium with the Rams. I want to get us in there and want to get to another. We actually had a game plan before Omicron hit with the LA Kings, and we'll definitely get that back in the books. So that is kind of, the idea behind asking for things that we can give people something back. I'm not going door to door asking for donations, because not surprisingly, a lot of people who have no connection with CF, it may not be the first thing they're going to donate to. Like, I always try to remember, everyone has something that they try to donate to. Everyone has someone that is afflicted with something in their lives. And so CF may not be something that it's important to them. When it comes to other events, specifically CF related events that are standing events around the country, those are things where I think, because me and my family picked Strides as our big yearly event, that's been the thing that we kind of wait for year round. And what I am always hesitant to do is kind of plaster my social media and email chains with, hey, it's Strides, it's the CF climb, it's the CF hike, it's this, it's that, because what I don't want to do is inundate people. And so I would recommend that you kind of pick your battles with the events that are meaningful to you, or that you feel like you can be, have the most leverage with. And that's not to say that I don't participate in those events. And I still, if it's a hike and it's great exercise, it's at the, the UCLA, the Rose Bowl, which is who gets to, go up and down the steps of the Rose Bowl for 45 minutes for exercise. It's rare. And that could be fun for people too. So again, I'm always looking for that value add, what the fun is, how to get people involved. And I will say from day one, the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation and Tomorrow's Leaders is so good at creating those types of things that feel fun, that feel like it's a lot of, it's great people. It's has great participation, and there's high energy, and it's a great way to meet people, whether you're, looking to network in your industry or in your city or meet new friends. It's always really great. So that's kind of in a nutshell, my, again, non-expert advice, but what I feel so far has worked well for me and been fun events that, my social circle and, business circle and those kind of things, family circles have always responded to.
Thank you, Nick. That was amazing. And again, I've seen firsthand how much fun Nick has at events and how much fun his friends have. So you need someone like Nick on your team, everybody, someone with a lot of friends. No, I'm just kidding. If you guys have specific questions for Nick, you can put them in the Q&A section of Zoom and we'll answer them at the end of the session. Thanks again, Nick. All right, I'd like to pass it over to our next panelist, Sam Curcio. Sam is a business broker at Transworld Advisors of New York and managing member of the Tropic Berry Cafe in the East Village. He has been involved with the CF Foundation since 2001 and has 3 siblings with CF. Sam has been part of the Tomorrow's Leaders Greater New York chapter since 2019, and currently he serves as the Professional Development Chair. Help me with welcoming Sam.
Thanks so much, Rochelle. And I actually had bought tickets to Get Salty and then had something pop up and I couldn't make it and I was so disappointed. But I also want to say thanks so much to Nick and all his input. I can relate to a lot of those different things where I'm going to events, but I don't always ask other people to join me. And I think that there's a lot of value in the actual value exchange, right? Putting on a great event to draw in people and they don't feel bad about spending the money to come and be with you. So thank you, Nick, so much for that. As Rochelle said, yeah, so I work in New York City as a business broker. I help people buy and sell businesses in the Main Street and lower middle market. I'm also the professional development chair here at the TL's Greater New York. And I also participated in the March on the Hill event in 2020, or this year in 2022, which was my first time, which was pretty exciting. So that was my first deep dive into the advocacy side of being with CF. And yeah, I have 3 siblings who have CF. I'm one of 5, actually. My oldest does not, I do not, and then there's another. So that's why I do what I do, and that's why I'm here today. I just want to thank all of you for taking the time out of your day, in the middle of the day here, to come and learn about how to make the ask. So I appreciate you being with us. So I want to talk a little bit specifically about and tactically about leveraging your social network by using social media. So reaching out to people who follow on social networks does actually 2 things, right? So one, it creates awareness, and it's also going to create giving opportunities. So even if somebody's not giving, they're becoming aware, and maybe somebody that they know they could share that information with, and then they're learning about CF as well. So I do want to talk specifically today about Facebook and understanding Facebook's reach, and I'll explain why in a second. So Facebook has 2.8 billion daily active users. It's the most popular social network globally. Facebook users spend on average 22 minutes per visit that they're on Facebook. 98% of Facebook users are using it on a mobile device, and 92% of people watch videos with no sound. And that's going to be key later on, but just remember that 92% of people watch videos with no sound. And so I want to share a quick fundraising story with you, and then I'll share my thoughts after there's a video I'm going to show. But I had thought that it would be a good idea to leverage a milestone, which was my 30th birthday, to try and raise money for cystic fibrosis. And originally, when I thought I'll make a video, I'll just tag the CF as the link and get people to donate. I thought if I could raise $300, that'd be pretty amazing for my 30th birthday. And then I thought to myself, well, why would I stop at 300 when maybe I could raise 3,000? And that's what I did. So I went on there, I made this video, and we went after $3,000. So I'm going to share my screen real quick so you can see the video that I made, and then we'll talk about it. Uh-oh. All right. Let me know if you can hear it, because it's telling me that it might not have audio. So it's less than 30 days until my 30th birthday, and I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to buy anything. I don't want to have a huge party. Actually, all I want to do is try and use this as an opportunity to do some fundraising for the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. Specifically, I want to try and raise $3,000 for my 30th birthday. So what I want you to do is, if you can, I would love it if you could donate to my cause. The Cystic Fibrosis Foundation is, if not the best, one of the best foundations in America. 90% of every dollar that is donated goes right towards research, and that helps produce drugs that are literally adding tomorrows for people living with CF. CF is specifically a genetic disorder that most commonly affects the lungs first, because it overproduces mucus, and in the lungs that can be extremely devastating. It's easy to catch an infection, and so most people with CF have a tough time breathing. Now, back in 2001, when my brothers and sisters were first diagnosed with CF, the life expectancy, I believe, was about 28 years old. And so living to a 30th birthday was, and still is, a battle, and a battle that some people living with CF won't survive. And so it would literally mean, words can't even describe what it would mean to me if we could raise some money for the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation for my birthday. And that would make me more happy than any kind of gift or any kind of trip or any kind of party. And I would really, really appreciate it if you could, if you can't find $30, find $3. That would still make a difference. So if you have any questions, feel free to directly contact me, or just follow the link in the description and you'll be able to make a donation. Thank you. All right. So in that video, as you can see, I didn't have captions, but I should have. And I just want to put some things on this. So this was like one of my first videos I ever made on Facebook, looking to try and raise money. I didn't have a professional light. I didn't have a professional camera. I didn't have a professional microphone. I literally put my phone on a tripod and recorded in front of it. I didn't have a script. I just had basically like 4 points that I wanted to hit on, and then get through the video. This was probably my, probably my 30th take on that video, but I got it done. And the reason I kept doing it is because I didn't want to edit the video. I wanted it to be one continuous video of me speaking about my fundraiser. And I would say that, we're trying to create an impact on our base, and doing that can happen through providing a great story. So the stories help us maintain attention, and they also will help us understand and remember the message. So as you can see, I announced who I was. I announced what the cause was, why it was important to me, and then I made my ask, right? I said, listen, if you can donate $30 or $3, please, anything helps, and I would greatly appreciate it. And we want to be authentic, right? We don't want to seem too polished or too rehearsed, because it's really going to drive a connection And that can be difficult over Facebook, right? Over a digital medium. And I actually had people who I didn't even know donate because someone that they knew donated, and they got that alert on their page. And then they came over and they watched the video and they donated. So to add to that, I want to give some other little tips, and I learned from my video as well, which was it's a great way to ask people, one, for funds, but you can also raise awareness, right? As you heard, I talked about CF, what it is, how does it affect people? We want to keep it simple. My video was less than, I think, 2 minutes. And that's kind of where I want to be for people's attention span these days. I would have now, I know, as we talked about, 92% of people watch videos with no sound. So I would definitely want to make sure I have captions on that video so people can read what I'm saying. And then you want to make sure that you make it convenient for them to donate. And that's, really easy these days, because Facebook will actually allow you to connect right to the specific fundraiser that you have set up in your participant center. So if you don't know about or have the Fight CF app, you should probably go and get it right now, so you can make sure you set up your fundraisers and then be able to link them to your videos. And you also want to make sure that you're putting that link on that video or in that Facebook post, because you don't want people to have to go off platform. If you send people off platform, they're less likely to donate, because then they have to go and come back and they'll just keep scrolling, right? So we want to make it easy. We want them to do it right on the platform that they're using, and go right to your link for that specific raise, because that's, that convenience is important. So because we're talking about how to make the ask, I'm going to give you an ask. And my ask to you is, can you get out of your comfort zone? Can you make a video for your next CF fundraiser? And it could be anything. It doesn't have to be your birthday. I use my birthday in that sense, but I've also done this for the 65 challenge. I raise money by taking a picture of me doing push-ups every day, and a video out doing push-ups in the lawn. And that's how I was getting people to donate. But make a video, make the ask, give the people the instructions, give them the information about CF, ask them to share. Oh, and one important thing which I missed, which I wanted to mention, was I responded to every single comment and share. So even if somebody just shared it, I just reached out to them and said, thanks so much for sharing my video. It's really important, because people appreciate that you're appreciating them, right? They're going to get such a good feeling that you recognize that they did something. So every single person who donated, whether it was $1 or whether it was $100, I responded to them, I thanked them, and let them know I appreciate their support. So that's a big thing too. And if you have any questions about this, feel free to reach out to me. I'm around all the time. I'm basically on 24/7. Happy to talk to you about best practices. But I'm going to wrap it up here and turn it back over to Rochelle.
Thank you, Sam. I absolutely love your idea of the $3 or $30 for your 30th birthday. I think that's so fun. I never thought of doing anything like that. So thanks so much for sharing that video with us as well.
You're very welcome. And yeah, I should say that we beat 3,000. We actually did $3,400 in funds raised.
Wow.
With that video. Yeah.
That's so cool. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, next we are really excited to be hearing from the CF Foundation on corporate engagement and their tactics for making the ask. So we have Liz Thompson. She's the Senior Director of Corporate and Foundation Relations at the CF Foundation. In this role, she leads the strategy to support growth of the Foundation's corporate donor base through cultivation of new corporate sponsorships, cause marketing relationships, grants development, and national corporate events, such as Ultimate Golf Experience and American Airlines Celebrity Ski. She has 15 years experience in the nonprofit fundraising sector, with 8 years specifically focused on developing corporate relationships. So we're very lucky to have her. Please welcome Liz.
Thanks so much, and so happy to be here with you guys. Sam and Nick, such awesome presentations and such great tips that you shared with everyone. So thank you so much. Hopefully I can be as informative and relevant as they were to you all. So before I, really kind of dig into how you might utilize your network to engage corporate contacts, I thought I would first start by talking a little bit about how we at the CF Foundation approach corporate engagement. So hopefully either before this or after this presentation, Lauren and the team are going to share out a one-pager that you all can utilize and become familiar with about how, what corporate engagement looks like at the foundation and how we really make an approach to a company. So corporate fundraising is strong at the CF Foundation. In 2021, we had over $20 million that came through corporate revenue, and that is all inclusive of everything. So from national sponsorships to chapter sponsorships to corporate teams that participate in events like Great Strides to matching gift donations that come through your company after an individual makes a donation, employee payroll deductions, the list goes on. It is all encompassing of that. So we have a kind of a wide footprint and a variety of ways that companies can get involved with the CF Foundation. And I would say also the size of the companies are all over the place. We have startups, we have small businesses, and we also have Fortune 500 companies that support us. So we're really, really fortunate to have so many amazing corporate supporters across the country. When we are talking to our companies that are longtime supporters, but also maybe a prospect and someone that we're hoping to work with, our goal is really to be solution oriented, and kind of what Nick was saying, what is the benefit of being involved with the CF Foundation? And really that looks different based on every single company. It's our job to really understand what a company's goal is in partnering with the CF Foundation. Are they looking to engage with their employees and have team building activity? So maybe Great Strides would be a good fit. Are they looking to entertain clients and they're looking to do it in a aligning with a company where they share philanthropic goals? So maybe a gala would be appropriate. Are they looking to, rev up their young professionals at their company? And Tomorrow's Leaders would be a fantastic opportunity. And some of the Tomorrow's Leaders events at the chapters would be a great opportunity. So the list goes on. And it's really about understanding what the company's goals are, what's going on in their world, what are they looking to do for the upcoming year or 3 years, how have they partnered with charitable organizations in the past, what worked for them, what didn't work for them. And through that conversation, we really try to help to identify a solution-oriented opportunity so that they're getting something out of partnering and supporting the CF Foundation. Of course, right? We are a great cause. We have an incredible ROI, and what we're able to say that we've done over the course of our history for people living with cystic fibrosis is phenomenal. And we have a lot of work to do, and we really could not do that without the continued support of these corporations. So kind of marrying that, who they align with and what are they hoping to get out of it in return, is that kind of niche of corporate engagement. So what does that mean for you guys? Sometimes when I talk to volunteers and to a lot of our chapter staff around, what are ways that we can engage with corporate, people kind of freak out a little bit. They get a little nervous about making a big presentation and putting together a proposal. And, I kind of want to demystify that and really get to the heart of the fact that every person works somewhere and there is a person behind those asks. So when you're presenting to someone, sometimes it's not always about presenting to the company, but getting to know that individual and finding things you can relate to that individual with and strengthening that relationship, getting them kind of involved and building that rapport. So that person becomes an internal champion for the CF Foundation and can help align with other people within a company and kind of get some good momentum and movement going behind any kind of ask or presentation. And so then it's more about a conversation. It's more about, really focusing on where you're hoping to go with the relationship, grow the relationship, and less about that stark cold presentation. We really don't want to be in the position of like a transactional relationship, right? Where we're like, okay, here's a sponsorship and it's, $1,000 and here's what you get and boom, boom, boom. It's more about building that relationship with someone, getting them involved. How do they feel about their engagement with the foundation, and making it more of an engagement versus a transaction. And so I would really encourage you guys to kind of pull back some of that anxiety when you're thinking about how you might, who you might know and how you might think of utilizing your network for corporate connections. I think, Nick brought up a great point in thinking about who your network is and inviting them to things that you're involved with. So, you all are champions for the CF Foundation, whether you're involved in Great Strides or, a Brewers event or so on and so forth. Invite those people that you think might be good connectors in your network to a larger company, to more people, to someone who else could help advocate and raise awareness for the CF Foundation. Bring them to that event. Give them some experience about what it's like to be part of this incredible community, and have them see firsthand what it is that you're part of before talking to them about potentially getting involved. Something that, Sam and I were talking about on a previous call is, not spending a lot of time on the nose, really taking some time to, as you're reaching out to your network, kind of see where people are. Do they want to be engaged? Are they interested in coming to an event? Do they want to join your team? Or are they going to make a donation? If they're not going to, a no for now does not necessarily mean a no forever. And it's kind of one of those, thank you so much, and kind of, appreciate the time and move on. I always think that it's good to keep those people informed and engaged. So if you've been part of an ask to an individual that you wanted to get involved and they said no, coming back to them at the end of an event or the end of a personal fundraising campaign and sharing that success and the reach that you were able to have, what the event was like, and hey, hope you join me next time. That's a good way to kind of keep them interested. And so next time you come back and say, hey, do you want to come to this event? Hey, I think your company might want to get involved. Maybe they do have a little bit more interest and appeal because they've kind of heard that this is a really good time and this is a really great organization, and kind of hear a little bit from you. Another thing that I really wanted to touch on was the power of storytelling. So when you finally have the attention of your network and you're kind of talking like, okay, I've got this person who's going to potentially help me get a meeting with their company. The single most important thing you can do is have a kind of your story about why you're involved, what's your role at the foundation, you're a tomorrow's leader, you're on a committee, you're on the board, really tight, and why the CF Foundation and cystic fibrosis means something to you. There is nothing more powerful than a volunteer story. There's a lot of, there's a couple of CF Foundation staff members on this call. We love to have volunteers who are passionate about our cause with us. Their voice has such a different level of meaning to a company, and hearing your story and how CF has affected your family or you individually, and hearing, why you're continuously committed to the foundation, how you're involved, it's just a different flavor and brings so much more meaning to that kind of interaction. So I hope you all, if there's anything that you come away with, is that your story is so powerful, and honing that story is super, super important. I know there was a previous session on that particular piece. So I think that's something that's really important, especially as you're kind of working to leverage your network and get meetings and talk to people about getting involved and getting them to the event. And then I would also just share with you that your chapter partners across the country are absolutely here to partner with you. Our chapters are armed with a ton of information around how to engage with corporations, the different ways that they can be involved, and having that fluid conversation like, hey, I've got a friend who works here. I'm going to try to get us a meeting, working with that chapter partner to come up with a plan and think through how you might, set up a meeting or get them to an event, and really think through what that cultivation strategy is so that it is a meaningful interaction, that you do get to learn a little bit about, what the company's goals are, how they would want to be involved. That's really important to connect with your CF Foundation staff members to kind of think through. And again, it's a long game for corporate. And I will say that over and over to everyone. It is not necessarily this quick transaction. Yes, we're going to be a sponsor. We do love when that happens, but it's also really important to think about the long game. Think about getting a couple of people involved, asking them to become a Tomorrow's Leader member, getting them to an event, helping them. Maybe they're sharing information about 65 Roses Day, or they're sharing information about an upcoming event, or they go tell their friends about this really cool opportunity that they're now part of. And it's really, again, just leveraging and layering that story and thinking about a long-term plan and strategy, but keeping it simple too, and not overwhelming a company. So, there's so much that goes into, leveraging a corporate network. But I hope that, this has been a little bit insightful, that it doesn't need to be super scary. It's really about your story. It's learning about the company's goals and finding that right fit so that they feel like they have some benefit in the long run as well. With that, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Liz. I love that idea of going to a company with an idea of how it can benefit them. I know I'm guilty of asking people for sponsorship and they're just like, well, we don't have the money to do it, so sorry. And it kind of ends there. But if you can get a little creative about ways to, other than money, that they can support the events, then it can be really beneficial for both parties. So thank you, Liz. That was super informative, super awesome. Thank you for everybody putting your questions in the Q&A box. Continue doing that. We're going to go to the Q&A portion right now and get some answers to your questions. Okay, so let me pull it up. First of all, first question's for Sam. Again, I already said this, but I love the fundraising idea for your 30th birthday. Are there other creative ways you shared your story while pushing fundraising efforts?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So after the success of that video, which was kind of my first social media video that I put out, I decided that it would be a good idea to kind of try to leverage social media as best I could by making these videos and posting them for the different events that I was doing. And so I did climb. I did a post for that. I did like I said, the 65 challenge where I was doing 65 push-ups a day. I made videos a couple times a week with that, letting people know about what I was doing and why they were seeing pictures of me almost every day in a push-up position. And yeah, so I try to take pictures when I'm out with the TL group to let people know, like, we're not just all work, we're also hanging out and having a good time. And then milestones, whenever like there's some very exciting things happening within the CF community, I want to post about those as well. And I think just that almost like a drip campaign where you're just touching people without doing an ask, and then eventually they do get an ask. Sometimes, which is like Nick had said, I try to pick like the one thing I'm doing this year, which I'm gonna make my ask, and then I would do a video or something to push for that, and then once that's done, I'll pick something next year, and that way I'm not overburdening people with an ask every other month.
Awesome, thanks, Sam. Okay, next question is for Liz. You mentioned so many great ways for a corporation to get involved with the CF Foundation. Does the Tomorrow's Leaders program have any sponsorship opportunities?
That's a great question. We did just very recently launch a couple of sponsorship opportunities tied directly to the learning series. So there's two different opportunities that you can do for each session. And it's one is at a $2,000 level, and it's like a digital footprint for a sponsorship. So company logos are all over the place, and emails on the website, so on and so forth. And there's a little bit higher level sponsorship at the $4,000 level that does introduce an opportunity for an individual to also be part of a panel. So especially if the topic is applicable to something that they're experts in, or they're looking to get in front and engage with an audience that is of, this interest or this, age bracket, that's a good opportunity and a good prospect. And then there's a third opportunity that I would say is a great one to customize with your chapter, that layers in an in-person opportunity, potentially could layer in some other event opportunities. If it's, for example, if you have a Brewers Ball coming up or a Finest event coming up, it could be a layered opportunity so that there is some activity from an event standpoint and being part of the learning series. So definitely reach out to your chapters if you think you've got some ideas around that or want to learn more. They're well-versed and happy to be part of that conversation with you.
Awesome. Thanks, Liz. Also, if you have any sponsors for Get Salty, send them my way. Okay, Nick, this next question is for you. So people were pretty excited that you got local organizations like the Rams involved in your awareness efforts for CFF. Can you give us a good first step with how to approach this effort in other markets?
Absolutely. In fact, it's kind of what we're going through right now. Again, I mean, the last time we were able to have these events was 3 seasons ago at this point. So unfortunately, most of our points of contact aren't really there anymore. And we are in a lot of ways starting from scratch. I think the first step is just, call around, email around, see what bounces back, get on their website, use social media to see if you have any mutual friends at those organizations. If you're in Baltimore and you want to set up something with the Ravens, or you're in Fort Lauderdale, you want to set up something with the Dolphins or the Heat or whatever. It's really just starts with the kind of like the, fact finding or information gathering. And once you're there, I think those early conversations need to be kind of like teetering towards what you can do for them. You're going to take a game that may not be a sellout, but you're going to add 500 people, or you're going to add 100 people, and they're going to be able to sell a big block of tickets, which is what their job is. And in return, of course, we kind of already spoke about what the foundation is getting. You're getting, you're gathering people together. It's a fun event. You can have special kind of treatment for, kids with CF or families with CF or friends to, kind of be a part of the experience. And, but again, it all starts with just the first question. And I realize, like I said earlier, it sometimes feels scary to kind of, put yourself out there or kind of ask that question. But I think if it's handled in the right way, you'll find that people are very receptive to it, because there are full departments with these big, teams, organization. Not doesn't have to be a team, any organization, like big corporations, where they have their philanthropic side of the business. Like they want to do good. Like they want to, be able to outwardly show that they are helping the community and helping people in need. So you should definitely look at it as you are offering them something as much or something equal to what they're offering you.
Thank you, Nick. And is there a specific title of the people that usually work on this at those organizations?
I wish there was just kind of like a standard across the board. Every organization's a little bit different.
Yeah.
What I would say, I would maybe start with kind of like someone in group ticketing. So there's usually, what I've experienced is there's that person who is, their job is just to sell as many tickets as they can to large groups, whether they're, in Los Angeles, not surprisingly, like at Lakers games, they want to sell a block of tickets to Amazon, or they want to sell a block of tickets to fill in the blank, 20th Century Studios, whatever it is. But then there's the side that are more specifically about the charitable endeavors or the kind of active giving. That kind of outward facing group that says, hey, we're not just here to, make money, we're here to do good in our community. So I would say kind of find who you can in either one of those. In my experience, it's been, a lot of times it's been kind of almost a triangle of communication between, whoever, whether it's me on our end or, Rochelle at one point with the Kings, speaking to both of those parties and kind of organizing accordingly. But I'd say those would be the two places to start.
Awesome. Thank you, Nick. Okay, this is for everybody. When engaging with your network or sharing your story, are there any specific support materials that you share?
I can start with that one. So one thing I didn't mention, but it reminded me when Sam was talking about his video, is my sister Kate, who I mentioned, who lives here in LA. She is an editor, so that's very nice when creating videos, for consumption to the public. And I don't think year one, I don't know if we did it year one, but we definitely got on the bandwagon and started to create videos, and with her knowledge, with the dialogue written at the bottom. So with the stat that Sam shared, about 92% of people view with their audio off. And those, I mean, George, when we first started doing it, was probably like 1 or 2. He's 6 now, and he's the cutest kid of all time. So just seeing him on camera, and the kid is going to be an actor, I think. I mean, he's built for it. He's just like, he's a showman. And so he makes it, he definitely makes our job a lot easier when it comes to getting attention and all that. But I'd say that video, like, to kind of reinforce what Sam said, having visual, I always make the assumption that people are busy. They have a lot on their plate. They don't have a lot of time to, if you're going to write a 2-page letter, nobody's going to read that. So if you can do a 2-minute video, like Sam, again, I'm, piggybacking off of Sam here, but that is definitely, it just grabs, they're busy at work, but they would like maybe a 2-minute break. Is it going to be entertaining? Is it going to be fun? Are they going to learn something? If you can give them that, it's a great, great resource.
Thank
you. Anybody else have any want to
Yeah,
add?
just to follow up with Nick, I completely agree. And I think that, you can throw in nuggets in those short videos, and you can throw in links. And I just tell people, like, hey, you want to learn more? Here's the link. And then it's just linked to the CF website, or it's linked to that article which just came out about that new drug, which I'm talking about. I'm telling people I'm excited about it, and they're like, I never heard of it. And I put the link so they can just go find it for themselves if they want to check it out.
Awesome. Liz, were you going to add something?
Yeah, I was actually just gonna, share what Sam shared, that there's a lot of great new, up-to-date news information, blog posts. So even if you maybe aren't comfortable sharing your personal story or your personal connection, there's such great information on the CF website. If you don't have a video that you've made, or you, again, maybe aren't comfortable sharing a personal one with an external contact or client or whoever you're talking to, if you go to YouTube and go to the CF Foundation channel, there's a ton of CF videos too that are really informative and a nice follow-up also. So, certainly something to leverage as well, but I think Sam and Nick hit it on the nose.
Awesome. Okay, just a quick question. Do you guys have any advice for someone wanting to engage their network for the first time?
Yeah, I'm happy to jump on this because as you saw in that video, which I shared today, that was basically my first time getting on video and trying to leverage my network. I would say that in your eyes, you are never going to look perfect to yourself, but to everyone else, you're just Sam, right? Or you're just Nick, and you're just Liz. And like, I don't know any different if you are like that usually or not. Like, I have nothing to base that on. And I think that people overanalyze themselves. It's like, some people say they hate looking at themselves in the mirror. And that's fair, right? Like, you're always going to be self-critical, but other people are just going to see that you're doing something great and be like, wow, I want to get behind this. Look at Nick getting out there or Liz getting out there and promoting something, and I want to support them. And I think it gets easier too, right? Like, that was my first video, then I did more, and then I did more. And now here I am on this panel in front of all you. And I'm not shaking as much as I did when I started today, but no, I'm just kidding. But that's the case, right? Like, it's going to take time and practice, and you're going to get better. Everyone's bad on their first video. Like, I mean, my video was not that great. It wasn't like it was amazing. I'm pretty sure I said probably 20 times in it at least. So that would be my advice. And I guess the ultimate reason is you're doing something great for the CF Foundation and the people you love. Like, that made me overcome my fear. Like, of course, like, do I really want to get on social media and maybe somebody's going to laugh at me? I mean, of course it could happen, but the reality was I'm more concerned about trying to raise funds for my family so that we can have the drugs to live a healthy life. And that's going to overcome any kind of anxiety I had about making that video.
Awesome. Okay, I have a little follow-up. Or Nick, go
I
ahead.
was going to add one quick thing, and I kind of mentioned it earlier, but I wanted to kind of expand on it a little bit, which is when you're first, let's say you're sending out a mass email to friends and family, or you're posting something on, Facebook or Instagram, think about how you're going to sell it, because at the end of the day, you're trying to get someone on board to something. And this is someone who you have to assume has other charities that they speak with or maybe even donate to. There's someone who has other things in their busy schedule. How do you present it while being truthful? We're not trying to, sell them, snake oil, but how can you present it so that it sounds really exciting and it sounds worth their time and worth their attention? Because that's the way you get people in the door. If it's something where it's just like, hey, pay $1,000 and we'll talk to you never. It's like, okay, well, who's ever going to go for that? But if it's, hey, show up on Saturday morning, we're going to have live music and a great group of people. We're going to go on a healthy exercise along the beach and whatever. It's like, okay, like that sounds interesting. I don't even care if people donate sometimes. Like if you're going to show up and you have your 2 little kids with you and you're going to, spend the day with us for a couple hours in the morning, like, and wear a t-shirt and, kind of be there for the whole event. That's just as good. So I think that first, kind of time out the door, like just make sure you're selling it in the best way possible so that it feels exciting and worth someone's time.
Love that. We have a question for Sam. Is there a recommended time to make the ask? I know you mentioned that before. Like, is it before or after you say why CFF deserves the donation? Sam, I don't know if you heard that. It was directed towards you. Oh, maybe is he frozen? We'll come back if he gets unfrozen. Nick, did you work closely with your local chapter to set up your fundraising events?
They wouldn't have happened without the local chapter. So if we're talking about the Rams game and the Kings game, because those are really the 2 sporting events that we've done so far, Natalie Canuni, who also helped organize this and does just about everything, along with Chris and the amazing team at the LA chapter, was pivotal, if not doing the lion's share of the work organizing for those events. So it is 100% a group effort. For me, it was I actually really love that the title of this this session is Making the Ask, because that's really how it started. You start by asking those questions and finding out what's possible. And then it's the chapter that's able to step in and make it real and breathe life into it. So without them, I don't think these things could have happened. There's so much that goes into it, just even the logistics of, we're communicating with them about how, people who with CF can't be sitting in seats next to each other. Like we have to, when they ticket these people, we need to, let them know who has CF and who doesn't, make them that's just one among many, all the flyers and the liability and all these other things. So the chapter had a huge role in it. Would not have happened without them.
Awesome. Thanks, Nick. Liz, I have a quick question for you. How can we as volunteers be more thoughtful or helpful in corporate engagement for the CF Foundation?
Oh my gosh, that's a loaded question. Our volunteers are so incredibly important as part of our corporate engagement. Not only would I say that your ambassadors to the foundation, being on the other side of people that are choosing to be involved with the foundation, that hearing from you and your experience and what you're hearing from fellow volunteers is impactful to a company. They want to know that the organization is supported by community members. I also would say that many times, more so probably than not, the majority of our really strong corporate relationships came by way of an introduction from a volunteer. And so if there's something that you could do more of, or that you could support us more with, it is thinking of who you know and who you might have a tie into, whether you worked at a company, you've got a friend at a company. So the introductions and kind of helping to support those relationships are incredibly important aspects of a volunteer role in corporate engagement. I would say that 9 times out of 10, collaborating with a volunteer before going into a more formalized corporate ask is the number one thing we do at the foundation from a staff standpoint.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, Sam, you're back. Quick question. Is there a recommended time to make the ask?
Yeah, sorry about that, New York City internet. Yeah, so I would say build rapport and then make the ask, right? I think Nick makes a good point that if there is a real value exchange, you want to make sure that they're aware of that value exchange ahead of time before you make that ask, right? If you're going to be giving them something in return for that donation, or in my case, I was telling my story. I'm telling them why it's important to me and what we're trying to do with the CF Foundation, right? I talked about the drugs and adding tomorrow's because I want them invested in the process. And understanding it enough that their dollars are going towards something, not just, hey, this is a CF Foundation and I need $20. Like nobody's gonna know what that is. And yeah, so that's what I would make that ask. And as far as posting on social media, like just for example, Facebook, middle of the day on Wednesday is the best time to post if you want to post on Facebook.
Thank you for that tip. Wednesdays, who knew? Okay, so just lastly, Eric asked about Get Salty. Is it a one-time thing? I think we've done it 5 times now. It started off super small and very exciting. We have a new co-chair for the event, Evan Williams. He has 1 million followers on TikTok. He's a comedian. He moved to LA and like had it in his heart to start volunteering for the foundation. So it just kind of feels like kismet for him to be involved. We're hoping to maybe do it in New York, Chicago. And if you want to do it in your city too, reach out. We can help you with that. It's just been really fun to continue on. Okay, I want to thank all of our speakers. You were incredible, and all the attendees for taking time out of your busy day to learn more about fundraising. And we hope that you feel empowered now to make the ask and engage your network. And thank you again for supporting the mission of the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation and changing the lives of those living with the disease, and also the family members as well. I'll say that. So this session concludes our first Tomorrow's Leaders Learning Track, Volunteer Leadership and Philanthropy Driven by a Purpose.